You would tell me that no signifies a desired yes. Your body would swallow me so I could feel again. This piece was from the poetic inventory for Rocky Mountain National Park. Everybody was supposed to pick a species that they wanted to write about, and so I picked the oxeye daisy. Chrysanthemum, leucanthemum. 1. Infection breeds in the sentence. The body is colonized first through the nose. Other infections go through the urogenital, digestive, respiratory, and conjunctival tracts. An oxeye daisy is a rhizome, creeping and spreading in mass. An oxeye cocoons. It is neither childlike nor whimsical. In 1964, Sartre declined the Nobel Prize for Literature. Jack Ruby convicted of murder. Nelson Mandela sentenced to life in prison. This news would never have reached Marguerite. She was a 9-year-old in Katorizawa whose parents were distributing the Word of God and breeding children to distribute the Word of God. When an invasion occurs, it strikes in vulnerable spaces. This is where an oxeye colonizes. Marguerite's parents were not concerned much with the Western news. They didn't even know that Johnson had won the presidential race until months after the election. Years later, when Marguerite saw daisy meadows in the States, she did not flinch to duck and cover. She burst into the meadow, running and sneezing to oxeyes, pollen staining her fingertips. White petals covered her toes as she dissected daisy heads, asking someone whether they loved her or not. 2. The true structure of tragedy is woman as womb object. This action began during the 12th century with the church and state during the move from feudalism to capitalism. In Caliban and the Witch, Sylvia Federici chronicles how sex was policed and how sodomy and homosexuality were deemed illegal, which resulted in reducing woman to womb object and a property of the commons. As womb object, woman is expected to perform feminine gender roles. When she doesn't, she is deemed mad, hysterical, or monstrous. In a hysteric text, the sentence of woman as womb object is destroyed. This is a hysteric text. 3. All sentences loaf in blight. Be cautious of rhizomes, of multiplicity, of plagiarism, of invasion. Oxeyes can plant up to 500 seeds per head, which can stay in the soil for up to 3 years. Yet the length of time could be longer here in Colorado, because our clay soil helps diseases like chronic wasting disease for longer than 3 years. To remove oxeyes, you must hand pull or dig seed heads before they infest and before the entire root must be removed, because oxeyes can sprout from fragments. Fragments of the root fester like ulcers. As a child, Marguerite was bored. She ripped fistfuls of grass for the pleasure of plucking. As an adult, whenever she heard a cuckoo, she clipped the wings of seagulls just for the pleasure. And when her family left Japan for the States in 1986, they scattered over 10,000 seeds. What is the possibility of finding those roots? An oxeye isn't sweet. Its pollen lips contain traces of bitter honey. Among the many health problems of Henry VIII, he suffered from stomach ulcers and ate oxeyes to alleviate the pain. It would be acceptable to imagine that he asphyxiated from the oxeyes. In a tragedy, an exodus has divine epiphanies, but in a hysteric text, an exodus is just an exit, and the exit is here. All right. This is an excerpt from my novel Gristle. It's a fictional proem. It has chapters. What you need to know is the protagonists have a series of awakenings throughout the novel. This is about midpoint in the novel, and the protagonist basically has an obsession that starts and ends with a mouth, and yeah, I think that's all you need to know. Chapter is called Hit Your Knees. If I knew erasure was coming, I would have left trails of rice to find my way out. Cavities indicate that the sweetheart mouth. Is that good? Good? Okay. Cavities indicate that my sweetheart mouth is a problem. A cavity forms when a thought rises and the throat, mine, is warm. My second and third molars throb. This is when I should swallow my tongue, cut it off, hold it. But really, how do you talk about being in a cult for 5 years? Maybe it starts with Alex. After 12 years of swallowing, of scraping off my faces, of reforming, I remembered him, Alex. I was 16 when I joined the group. The group hugged hello, they hugged goodbye. They said they loved me. They chain smoked and drank lots of caffeine. They told me to have fun. They danced and laughed and stayed awake for over 24 hours. They called this wedging. They wedged for days. They broke into the mineral quarry up north so that they can jump from the cliffs 75 feet down all the way into the nuclear-looking water. They did not do drugs. They did not drink. They met in a filthy warehouse downtown called The Shop where they held meetings, gatherings, and did whatever the fuck they wanted. They told me that if I wanted to really get out of myself, I had to have fun. And to do that, I had to leave this body. They dropped cigarette butts on the floor, drank iced toddy, sans alcohol, of course, and danced all the time. They hugged me, gave me cigarettes, toddy. They told me I was loved, and they were exhilarated. During my second week with the group, my doorbell rang at 2 a.m. My mom, upset, told me that the door was for me. I saw no person, but I felt their eyes. And on the porch there were 3 large painted rocks that read, I love you, you rock, and hit your knees. After 30 days, they presented me with a leather monkey's fist in the form of a necklace to represent my sobriety and spirituality. We love you, they said. You're supposed to be here. The necklace was long and leather and thin. Inside the monkey's fist was a bullet. Everybody who was sober there wore those bullet necklaces. If it wasn't around their neck, it was twirling fast around their fingers. One way, then another, then another, then another. They looked like hypnotists with their spinning bullet necklaces. From then on, I was never by myself. Meetings were on Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sundays were for hangouts outside the shop. Fridays and Saturdays were group function nights. 80s, 90s, millennium hoedown, cartoon horror, Zoolander-themed dance parties, scavenger hunts, raw turkey bowling, human bowling, mop bucket bowling, midnight bowling, cliff jumping, kickball, foursquare, hiking at midnight, house parties, mud pits, redneck nights, stroke meeting, guys nights, girls nights, battle of the bands, road trips to the sand dunes to surf the sand at night, road trips to get come-and-go lighters, road trips to visit other groups in Atlanta, Phoenix, and St. Louis. We only hung out together. We only traveled together. There were about 40 of us, all under 18. There were 3 counselors who were over 18, who led meetings, organized functions, and led our spirituality. The counselors met with my parents to tell them that I needed group therapy to unlearn the behaviors that got in the way of my happiness, sobriety, and spirituality. My parents forked over $8,000 for group therapy. The group told me to be real, to have at least 3 one-on-ones per night. I asked Alex Kennedy if he wanted to talk to me. He had been there for 2 years. He wore a small silver monkey's fist replica necklace. There was no bullet inside. When he spoke, my throat burned. We never broke eye contact. I wanted to kiss the dark freckles under his eyes. I wanted to press my body against his. My heart, his heart. His hair was bleached blonde and hung at his shoulder blades. We talked for hours. Somebody came by and told us that the shop was closing and there was a bonfire to go to. Alex and I stood into a hug. His body, mine, my heart, his. The group said I had to stop giving titty hugs to males, especially to Alex. Titty hugs are when you give somebody a two-armed hug, and you push your tits against somebody else's chest. They told me to be of service to others, so I swept up the cigarette butts outside and inside of the shop. The group told me to stop hanging out with my high school friends. They told me I had to stick with winners in order to grow, because if you hang out with trash, then you're trash. Eventually, I dropped out of high school. The group came to my house to help me get rid of the clothes that were too revealing, and the music that was bad feelings. They dumped my weed down the toilet and broke my pipe. They said that I needed to shed who I was to become if I wanted to become my best spiritual sober self. Dressed in long pants and long sleeve shorts, I began to swing the bullet necklace around my fingers. Alex was my person. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, those were our days. When I spoke, my throat was hot. He touched my throat and I sang. His belly button bled. Actual love. His heart, mine, we pressed our bodies together, embrace and stay. When I swallow, I feel his heartbeat. I brushed his hair out of his eyes. He tucked mine behind my ears. He lit my cigarettes and put his hands over our hearts. A steady peace. The counselor said we had to stop gaming, which was flirting with the intention of gaining good feelings from somebody else, which was strictly forbidden. Give it time, and we will be together, Alex said. We stopped hanging out. We watched each other from across the room. My throat burned so bad I drank toddy and swung my fist necklace around my fingers to coax myself out of want. It was a Friday night, and we were having a disco roller skating party at the shop. I was outside, smoking on the curb, and Alex sat down next to me, my heart a moth fluttering on the light. We shared my cigarette, and then another. A car pulled up, and two drunk men got out. They asked what was happening inside. Alex said it was a private youth group type event. The men came closer. I went inside to get a counselor, and the counselors told us to stay inside. I heard shouting, lots. I opened the door and saw one of the men pull Alex to the curb, and he stomped on his mouth. Alex slumped on the curb, and the two men were gone. I could not hear his bone on the concrete, but I felt it. There was no protocol in the group for this. We went to the hospital. Alex's mom and dad were there. He was in surgery for hours. The doctor said he was lucky that his upper mandibles did not go through the roof of his mouth, which would have crushed his sinus cavity, and if there was even more force, his teeth would have driven into the prefrontal lobe, which would have killed him. Instead, Alex had 8 shattered teeth and a broken jaw. He's lucky, the doctor repeated, and Alex's parents were proud of him. His recovery time took him away from us. 13 weeks of doctor visits and dentist visits. His jaw was wired shut. I hit my knees and prayed for him to be okay. There was not any being okay after this. The counselors told him not to take the post-surgery Vicodin. The group told him that he should try to be at a meeting once in a while. They sent people to be with him, but his parents turned him away. The group stayed by his house for a few weeks after that to offer their support. I smoked cigarettes with them and gave them Alex updates. His parents turned me away soon after. Alex is leaving the group, his father said. 6 months later, I was asked to testify for Alex. I did. I saw him. He saw me. And my throat burned. And his belly button bled. And he put one hand on his stomach and one over his mouth and looked away. Blood dropped. My heart broke. And I sewed its pieces to my sleeve. End of that chapter. Okay, and this is the last one. It's more of a poem. I guess it's like a love letter on evolution and a meditation on penis envy. And it's for our favorite papa, and I'm sorry if your dreams are haunted tonight of anything from this. So, probably not. I'm just kidding.
No apologies. No apologies.
Okay, this is called The Sickest Rose. We could have been together. I would have called you Siggy. Oh no. I would not have minded that you were born with a coal. Even if it was removed, I would have known that it was the coal's veil that made you blind, ignorant at times. I would have loved you anyway. What is variability to you? I would have whispered Galapagos in your ear as I trimmed your beard. I would have cleaned the grease from your glasses. I would have told you that wanting to be a motherfucker is not normal. Then you would have slept at night. Upon returning home from work, you would have asked, "What's for dinner?" And I would have responded, "You." Then you would have said no while your eyes said yes, yes, yes. The world would not appear so dreadful. I would have left you just to come back. I would have taken baths with you in milk. I would have let you repeat the until you found the thought that you sought. I would have done anything for you. I would have been numb from sucking cocaine from your dick vein. I would fuck you on the fainting couch, and then I would tell them all, I fucked Freud on the fainting couch. I would have said that there were only lies between my legs, and I would have fucked you for years. I would have worn a green strap-on with a clip blaster, and you would tell me that nothing sexual is a lie. You would tell me that no signifies a desired yes. Your body would swallow me so I could feel again, and our climax would have sent me to the moon, and I would be the first woman on the moon, and our climax would set us free, and it would set Dora free, and you would be my Janie Smith, and you would die of syphilis, and I would read you the sick rose, and when your sores flared, I would scream, "Oh heavenly powers, restore him." And I would have drained the curdled milk from the bathtub, and then refilled it with your ashes, and I would bathe with you in milk until you returned to me. I would pretend to trim your beard. I would talk about how sick you are, and then I would stop. I would call you my lamb. I will sing, "Little lamb, who made thee?" as I bathed you in milk again. I will scream that hysteria is not for everyone. I will scream that hysteria is not a goddamn bird. I will scream to the moon. And I will get pregnant, and you will name her Peach. And you will die again as I plead for you. And I would have written you, dearest Legion, over and over and over. Thank you.